Well, judging by the title of this video, clearly it's kind of begun again, hasn't it? There's that old intro that we haven't heard in a long time. I have been editing the past few days, and I don't know. I'm over halfway through Eris's portion of the story. I didn't really plan on this, it just fucking struck me. Like a sex lightning bolt. And as I've been reading this more, I'm getting to this section where, oh God, it's painful. Why is it painful? Well, it's going to require a fuck of a lot to figure out. Jumping back into it, rereading the story, part of me is like, man, there's a lot of talking, not a lot of doing. But that's just Eris' story. I just thought it was super crucial because he's at this point where he's trying to know, like, I don't know how to explain it. He's trying to figure out, like, I got shit to do. I have something that I have to be. And finally I have time to sit and dwell on it, and there's so much to dwell on. I never really realized how much depth could be in this, and all the things that it could be. It was just it's a hell of a lot for him. So he's trying to figure this all out. And he's talking to this character, that Meteor guy, that older, strange slave dude. And he keeps trying to draw out of him something that is hiding within him, and part of Eris is like, kind of believes him because he's really convincing about it. The other part of him is a little bit like, I don't know how to feel about this. It's kind of fucking weird, and this guy is really weird too, and so he's super conflicted about it. But then he has this vision. This is kind of where I'm at when I'm rereading it. As he's sitting there waiting for his friends, possibly thinking of their demise, he's thinking to himself, I feel a draw in this strange temple. Remember I told you about the music pulled him into it? Well, he's like, I feel a draw. And I don't know how to feel about that. And he's kind of sitting there with his thoughts, and Meteor is like, alright, I'll fuck off. He kind of leaves into his thoughts. As I described it, now it's a dream, but I really think I should change it to not a dream, a vision. And he's been taken by this, and he has this crazy vision that fucking mirrors the one that I had when it comes to that cave that I went into, and there's a lot of shrines and effigies and candles and incense and all this stuff lighting this darkened cave and this crazy tunnel to finally be met by this god that was inside of a statue in his vision. So my pausing is like, okay, is that dove or opaque? So that's where I gotta figure that out. I don't know right now. It might be dove when I think about it. We should really explore that more. But when I take that and come out of it and I go into this next section here, it goes 0 to 60 real quick, and I have to really dwell on how I'm going to do that, because I can't follow a vision by another vision, because that didn't happen originally. Originally he was just sitting there thinking, and then some sort of inspiration came that he must leave, and then he goes. Now I'm saying, no, a vision happens, then we come back from the vision. That inspiration telling him to leave leads to another vision, so maybe that doesn't lead to a vision at all. I don't know. You have no idea what I'm saying, that's fine. But that's where we're at right now, and I'm just, part of me is a little bit in awe that I'm actually fucking back on the book again, because it's so fucking much. It's so crazy to me to think about this shit and what's gonna come. Man, I'm so this is a lot. This fucking book is a lot. I've recently been, so there was a guy that I met because of this channel months ago, maybe a year, I don't really know. And he slowly seemed interested, and we talked and blah blah blah, formed our bond, bada boom bada bing. Now he's helping me with the book. He's working on something on his off time. Then very recently I found another guy willing to jump into this book and help me. I think I sold him enough, you know? Everyone has their own role, and it's going to be so cool to see it all come together, but in my mind, what this book, is a channeling of a mythology. Where the fuck it comes from, I don't really know. A lot of it's probably influenced by the culture that I've been surrounded by the mythologies I've been ingesting, and by just every aspect of what I've been doing in this office. I've been doing a lot of reading with all those damn books over there. I've been just doing a lot of reading, as you can tell. Now, that's what I've been up to, so maybe it's just influencing, you know? It just has to be. That's how the world works, right? You see, you do. But I was saying to him, there's something more to this. There's something more to the creation of this book. It's not just, I don't know. I say it's a fantasy just to, you know, this is the modern era. I kind of have to. It's just what it is. You have to limit things. But in reality, this is a transcendence. And my goal is to, through this book, unravel some things. Because I met this guy recently because of the YouTube channel. And he understands language in a way that I will never. Seeing connections to some sort of truth deep within our language that we use, as in certain things, the way we say them, what we invoke, and how they work, all tie back to some ancient thing that is long forgotten. And the examples he's giving me are very clear that there's some truth to this. So as he's telling me about these words and how they have a deeper meaning than we'll ever understand, and how certain forces use that because they know it to influence us through modern culture, the more I realize that that's his role in the book. Because when I come to him, I say, okay man, just take this in, and whatever you find, let me know. And already he's found a lot of fucking things that I never knew about, just in my writing, just me working on this. And he sees all these connections to things. And I had to tell him, I was like, hey man, I'm not doing any of this like sitting here on purpose, okay, I will use this word because secretly I want to invoke that, and I'll use this one, and I'm not doing that. I'm just fucking around. But he's finding stuff in that fucking around, so as I told him, what it is I stumble in the dark of the imagination and pull from it, as I've described in these videos, and put it back into this book here. That place in which I've transcended into, the imagination, is that unmanifested. Through that is the multitude of unmanifested that hit mankind, and I think that's why we keep recycling, because there's a lot of the same stories. That in and of itself mirrors how, in the circle, like how I described in the Forgotten series, there's that fucking thing in the middle there, the realm of creation. That to me is the imaginary. That's where everything lies, it gets recycled. So that's what that really means, you know? Not only life and ideas and thoughts, but also, you know, stories of the past and our progenitors and where we come from and all that. It's just this place that allows all this. And in saying that, I'll go in there blind, you know, and I'm not picky, because I feel like the minute you're picky is the minute you limit yourself, you know? And so I'll go in and I'll start fishing shit out as I'm writing and working on it, just putting it in the book, and I'm not thinking about it, I'm just churning it into the damn book. He's already, like, showed me certain things that I was doing. He's like, this is like this, and do you know when you made this, it's like that, and blah, 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 all this stuff that's beyond me. I'm just like, okay, cool, I guess. This is great, you know? Because a long time ago, in my mind, I said, wouldn't it be great if we become the next Shakespeare? Wouldn't that be fantastic if we could make a work of art that has within it some of the most sacred words that you could ever understand, that invokes some sort of thing that we always want to puzzle out? I mean, you can get lost in it and take the wrong way, but I'm like, oh, I would love to write something like that with a group of people, because, you know, there's that theory that Shakespeare was a made-up, was it moniker? I don't know. Made-up person, and a bunch of other people were writing and made him up. And I thought, well, not necessarily that aspect, but the results. I was like, wouldn't it be great to make another one of those? Where a group of us together create some sacred text that is deep within the consciousness of mankind. So further down the line, people can interpret it and discover what's been in there. And along the way, I realized, okay, that's what I think would be great. I have to find people that have skills where I do not. I can charge forward into the dark, and I can take with me all the shit that's out there. That's where I'm good at. Run me into the darkened forest, I'll go in there and I'll grab everything in sight. And I'll come back out and drop it on the table, and I leave it for others to interpret it. And that's what it's been in the whole journey, from its beginning with Kevin, and then when Jacob came in, that's how it was. I was just like throwing stuff, like, I don't know, like then this happened, and I don't know what that means. And then they would ask me, like, well, I don't know. And we'd work on it, and they'd find it through their mind. And now with the two new guys, it's the same thing. I'm just charging in, I'm grabbing up all the shit in the dark and dropping it at the table, and we'll decipher it together. Because I'll be the one that has to write it all down, what we decipher. And hope to God my memory serves me right. And that's what this book has become. And so as I'm rereading, this is how far we've gotten so far, as I'm rereading this, I'm trying to keep mind on that. I'm trying to, like, okay, remember, this is what the circle is. Remember what dove means. Remember what Oapeg means, and how the dreams work. Because it all comes back to a greater truth that even I can't understand. I don't know how to explain, like, how confusing it all is, you know? And how traumatic it can be, but at the same time, liberating. Whenever you're writing a novel, I'm assuming for every other sort of author out there, you're placing in it yourself. There is sub-level novels that are just for fun, but the real serious shit, you have inside of it some aspect of self. Whether you explored it or not, it's in there. And that's the kind of hard part about doing this, because it almost feels like you're leaving your soul somewhere. How do you reach immortality? By your work of art, right? That's how you'll always be alive forever. And some part of it, I wonder, is that how we live on, but is that also a soul trap? You know what I mean? Is it a positive and a negative thing? I don't like to necessarily dwell on it too much, but it is a thought. I'm not really comfortable with that thought, but it's a thought nonetheless. And as I approach this story more and more, and I'm inviting more people into it, and they're working on it, I'm like, am I taking them to something good or bad? You know? I don't know. I don't have an answer for that. It's not something that I'm saying, and like, by the way, let me tell you what it is. Like, I don't know. It's hard. I do know what we're all setting about doing. I can't necessarily say, I tried to make a video about it, but I couldn't find all the archives. But I was saying, whenever I tell people about this book, I really tell them about it. Not just watch one of these videos and they're like, oh, okay, that's fun. Really tell you about it. How it came about, what's driving me, who's involved, what's been going on. Like, when I really tell people about it, the first thing that always happens is people are always like, wow, that's really cool, right? That's always the first thing. But after they really get into it, they start seeing something in it. They start seeing what I'm seeing. And when they see what I see, that's generally when people want to get involved. When they're seeing what this is about, something that I can't put in words, you'll know, because you'll be reading something, you'll be hearing something, you'll be watching a lore video, whatever it is, and it'll hit you. You're like, wait a minute, there's something here. And what it is ain't exactly clear. But it's true, and they all want to help me in some way, in their own way. At first I felt weird about it, because I'm like, this is kind of, is this a cult thing? Are we doing a fantasy fucking roleplay thing, you know? Because that's what it could come across as. I'm just participating in a fantasy thing. We're making up a world. Like, it seems that way, but once you start get into it, you start realizing, like, man, there is some shit hiding in here. There is some stuff going on here. Like, a physical example, like, I have this office in the front of our home, and my wife doesn't even like to come into this room. She's like, there's a lot I can sense. Like, there's like she says, you made a weird egregore in that room. And I'm like, yeah, I know, right? She's even afraid of it at night, and I don't feel any of it. I'm just like, it feels fine to me. But it's true, I feel like a thought form is growing from this, and because more people are starting to find it. And in that, I don't know if it's good or bad, but man, it feels like something is coming through in the book. I know that people like Lovecraft. I remember someone says something like, "Oh, that's what Lovecraft," and there was a guy who opened the door for the fabric of the universe to be destroyed or some shit. I don't know, man. I mean, if that's the case, that's the case, whatever. But like, I enjoy doing this, but it's also, I fucking hate doing it. It's the only thing that I can do, but I don't like to. It's tough. And along the way, it's not been easy. There's a lot of struggling. And not only there's that part of being a writer. So as someone who does write, you can understand like the process of writing this novel. Sometimes it can be quite difficult, or you get pause, you get writer's block, whatever it may be. But there's an added layer on top of that, and I don't know how to explain it. Like, not only do I have the issues that a writer would have, but I have these like ethereal issues. I have these feelings of treading into this great unknown and being hopeful that I'm doing something right, because I just feel so driven to do this. So incredibly driven. So there's that aspect of it. And I don't really know. I don't really know if what I'm doing is right or not. Sometimes. Then other times it's like, this is the most right I could ever do. It definitely has the state of duality within it. Something I explored in a video recently. Like, duality is that thing in which I'm seeking to kind of move through. Because, with the blend of reality, there's a bit of gray in the middle, as you could say. The true neutral. That I try to transcend through. You have the darkness on this side of the hand, and there's the light on that side. But I'm trying to go down the middle of it. And in that sense, traversing through the middle, in one way you could stay undetected. And another way, you could stay true to the source of it, because you are seeing interpretations. And I know it can get higher than that, but simplicity is the highest self. So some people want to get complex and say, well, yeah, what about the duality of the duality? What about the blah, blah, blah? Like, the more you do that, the more you go in the mind of man. You have to go into the mind of creation to say simplicity's sake. And in that simplicity's sake of chasing, I think there's some sort of road that once down, you'll find the doorways. It's just kind of how it works in the book. Once you find those doorways of the thought of the creator, you can access each one, and each one is some sort of thought form, or some sort of spirit, or some sort of emotion, in which it's like a set of glasses, right? You open this door, and it's a certain viewpoint of a certain event. And in that certain event, you could understand it in that way, but then once you get back onto the road, that's that middle state. And the doors are on the left and they're on the right. And there's the good and there's the bad. Merely, though, all of that acts as a descriptor, or a simplified descriptor, for the set of events that shadow our lives. Because in that shadowing, that's where we come up with opinion. That's where we have the idea of understanding, like my own little opinion, like the cave, like Plato's allegory of the cave. In that, sitting at that bottom of the cave, and how there's the light behind the wall, and it's casting in front of them the shadows of the image, the things that the guys are holding up. That's where we form our opinion. But the idea of, because it's basically the case about the philosophers, like what he has to go through. He has to leave the cave and see everything here and there and all that. That's a whole process in which this is described as well, but I think of it less of going out to the world and seeing the beauty of the real sun and the grass and the trees and all the animals, you know. It's going away from opinion. So to find opinion down the doorway is to go through it, not avoid opinion, because I just don't think it's good to avoid opinion. I think it's good to go through opinion, for empathy can be drawn that way. And in some sense, that is the point in which you can truly philosophize about the world around you. Or the things that happen, I don't know, here and there. Because at the end of the day, the whole idea of the book is to transcend. Is to have the character become this fucking prophet and transcend the known world. And be bigger than that which any has ever been before. In saying that, the only way that I would ever describe that process of working is through true understanding. So Eris is tinted. He is bathed in empathy. He must. It's not even active for him. It's like me. It's very like, it's automatic. You know, you look at someone, you look in their eyes, you feel what's happening in them as they're saying their sentences. You're paying attention to all the little details on them, what clothes they choose to wear in that same conversation, and their body language, and how they're choosing their words, and how quickly they're choosing the words, apparently how slow they are. True empathy. And so I thought, well, that's the way that we can explore this. But going back to the writing of the story, that's where it can get difficult. Because in a sense, all I'm really doing is trying to invoke through the book. And when I speak to guys about this process, they're seeing it too. But not only just what I'm describing now, but they see the hidden symbols. Like I said, exploring into the other realm. I'm pulling back from the dark forest all this shit that I don't know. But they're starting to see it. And that's when I'll say, yeah, that's how that works. That's what that empathy is, man. You running into this, finding through the emotions things you can't understand, and you pull it back and let others decipher it. That's what the book is. And hopefully that wasn't confusing to anyone, but I bet it is. Anyway, I really gotta probably get back to it. I think I have to write something insane here, and it's going to be trippy. So I will see you next time, and we will talk more about the book in the coming videos.